Hi, this is Zach from Data Miner, and this is a video that will walk you through how to write your own recipes. So this will be a pretty lengthy video, but we're going to dive deep into the whole process, and that includes HTML, xPath, and obviously Data Miner. So let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing we need to do is open up the Chrome Inspector. So to do that, just right click and go to Inspect. And as you can see, we now have the HTML right in front of us. And if for some reason you aren't able to see the HTML, just go in this top panel, just do Elements, and then that will display the HTML of the page that you're on. And we're on currently the example search results of the Data Miner sandbox. This is just an area that we built for you guys to practice and get familiar with Data Miner. So at this point, what we'll be doing is looking at every individual on this page, and this is a search results page. This is essentially the first step to scraping data, because typically when you're searching for data, you're going to have a search results page, and then you're going to have an individual profile for whatever the information might be. For this example, it is just different employees. So we have Alan Stone, and he is a Java developer. So let's go ahead and click back, because today we're going to only be focusing on the search page, but I'll be showing you how to write a recipe for a search page. And typically all you really need for a search page or a list page is what we also refer to them as because they are in a list format. All you really need is to be able to extract the URL, because once you have the URL of every individual profile, that's when you can create a job and jump into each profile and then extract the individual's specific detailed information. So to get the URL, let's click on the little arrow inside a box. This is what allows us to highlight specific HTML and kind of see the different information that we'll use to create our xPath. So typically the images or the main title name is where the URL will live. So let's go ahead and do the main title. Here it's called the headline. So let's click that. And once you click it, the Chrome Inspector will kind of highlight it and show you all the information. So this element is it's an A tag, which is a type of HTML tag, and they're typically what are used to create a link. And then the class is headline. So this is the information we're going to need to be able to extract the URL, which is a part of this h4 tag. So now that we have that information, let's go up to the Data Miner pop-up. And since we're going to create a new recipe, let's do create a recipe. And at this point, even though we have this specific element, we also need a container that it's in. And what I mean container is Data Miner works by essentially breaking down a map. And the map is the different xPaths that we are creating. And the row or the container is the very start to the map. And what I mean by that is, as you can see, it's kind of looking at the HTML on the right here. It starts up fairly large, like this right here, the row is the main container, and then it slowly goes down different elements until finally you get to the A tag. And that's essentially what Data Miner is doing behind the scenes. So what we need to do first is to get the starting point, and that is the row. So for this container, it's going to be a div tag with a class of row. So this is what we're going to put in that first row section of the recipe. So let's go back to the Data Miner tab, or Data Miner extension. And for the xPath of the row, we're going to be doing, and actually real quick, xPath has a very specific syntax or a very specific way of typing out an xPath. And what you need to do is do // and then do the tag name, which is a div, and then open square bracket, an @ symbol, and then the whatever the attribute is, whatever we found in the HTML. So this time it's a class. Sometimes it might be an ID. There are many different types of attributes you can extract or use to are used to extract information. So this time we're going to be using the class. So let's do class, then equals, open parentheses or open quotations, then it's the row is the name, and then close parentheses, and then close bracket. So now what we did is we essentially just told data miner to find this row. And as you can see, that's when we collapse that, there are multiple rows, so it's always going to, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, each person has its own individual row, and this is what we need when we want to capture every single URL of every single person. So we're going to find the row of every single person and then go into it and find the A tag. Now, to find the A tag, let's go back to the data miner extension. And for this part, we're going to go down to xPath for columns. And with the same syntax or the same format, we can just copy and paste that actually. We're going to now put that in. And I want to point out that up here for the xPath row, it starts from a /. But from down here, it starts with a period. So the point of that, it all has to do with the syntax and the way xPath should be written. But to put it simply, think of this as the top or the main starting point as without a period, and anything that's kind of like a step along the way, it needs to have a period. Technically, the way it's determined is this is a global, meaning kind of like a parent, and then this is more of a child type of xPath compared. So this is the parent and this is the child. And it's essentially saying that this is going to be inside, this xPath will be inside this row xPath. And sorry, that might be a little confusing since they're the same right now. So let's go ahead and change that. So remember, we're looking for the A tag with the class headline. So let's change that to A class headline. Okay, so let me say that one more time. The A tag is a child, or also it's within the row, so that's why there's a period. Okay, so now hopefully that isn't too confusing. At this point, we can just give it a name. So let's say URL. And at this point, we should be good to go. And all we have to do is press scrape. All right, so as you can see, there were a few hiccups, which is perfectly fine. It's all a part of the process of finding the right xPath and scraping data. So I can already tell you that I know what I forgot. When you are scraping a URL, we got the headline, which is essentially the individual's name. But the URL is specifically called something within the HTML, and that is right here. That is the href. And as you can see, it leads to profiles/Alan Stone. So what we need is not just the class, but also the href. And to do that, we're going to just do at the end of this xPath, we're going to add the element that we need. So let's do /, and then another @ and then do href, because that is what we need to capture. So let's try that. Great. So now we have the basic file, like the files that are, how do I put this? So now we have just a portion of the URL, because this is kind of what the files are named, or the different pages are named. What we need to do is now add this on to the actual website, the full website's address. And to do that, you're going to do something called concat. And as you get further along with recipe writing, and we'll constantly kind of build on this with new videos, but what you need to realize is xPath has a lot of different variations, and essentially the way to be successful is you're going to have to build up a toolbox of all these different xPath methods. So once you just kind of develop an understanding of xPath and accumulate all these different tools and types of xPath, you'll essentially be able to capture and scrape anything. So at this point, don't be frustrated. There's a lot to learn, and all you need to know is that over time you'll just understand and know more xPath tricks. So to capture the URL, as I said, we will need to do something called a concat. And all you have to do is do concat, and then open parenthesis, and then the website's name, Let's go back to data miner. And I can't remember if it's parentheses now or quotations now or later. So let's just go ahead and try that. So we're putting it inside we're putting the website's main domain inside quotations for this attempt. And then we'll do a comma. And then we just finish it at the very end with a parenthesis. So let's try that. Awesome. So it worked, but it looks like we do need a / just to make it a valid URL. Great. So that now should take us to the Allen Stone. And that is not right. So obviously we missed something. Let's just go ahead and click on it and see what we need. So there is a missing profiles folder that we need to incorporate. So let's go ahead and go back, open up data miner, and add that in, profiles, and then / No, that's not right. Oh, we need, no, instead of profiles, we need sandbox. That's what it is. Awesome. Okay. Data-miner, sandbox, profiles, Allen Stone. Great. All right. So we were able to capture that. We don't need that. So great. So we were able to capture the URL. And one other thing I'd like to look at is apparently we have a few extra rows that are causing problems. Because, for example, this is just providing us with just a blank website URL. Like, it's not taking us to any individual profiles. So let's just kind of figure out why this is happening. So I'll just kind of walk you through just a little problem solving. So it's the row that's causing the issue. So there must be multiple rows that don't contain any data. So let's go ahead and go over to the xPath or the Chrome Inspector. Do a find. Row. That's not good. No. Row. Okay. So I think row I think row might be too general, and what we need to do is find something a little bit more specific to just these individual page elements, because rows can be used all throughout. Like essentially, this could be a row, this could be a row. So I think we need to find something a little bit more specific. So let's go ahead and see. So that's the row we found. And let's actually go up one more. Instead of doing row, let's do person container, which obviously makes sense because that gives you insight as to what the container is, what it applies to. So let's go ahead and take that. So we're taking the class name, and it's already a div. So let's go ahead and go down to our xPath for rows. It's div at class, and just replace that with person container. So let's try that. Great. So now it was successful, and now it's only extracting the individual of the individual profiles. So we have 4, and we have 4. Great. So you, if you didn't get lost at any point following along, you successfully scraped the URLs and made your first recipe. Well, this is a great first step. I think this is enough for now. At this point, just save it. So go down to Save Recipe down here on the left. Give it a name. It could be anything. My first recipe. Press Save. And there you go. You've made your first recipe. So I think that's enough for now. In future videos, we'll kind of walk you through how to get more pieces of information, and then also how to use this with a job, which we already have a few videos for, but it's always good to get more information. So we'll continuously build and provide you with more examples and more xPath practice. Well, if you have any questions, you can always email us. Our email is support@data-miner.io. So go ahead and send us an email if you have any questions. And I hope this video was helpful. And I guess have a good day, and thank you for watching.